Hi, everyone. My name is Matt Jarbo. You're watching Stranger Days, the conversationalist approach to what the F kind of stories are out there around the world, the history on the internet, you name it. I want to talk about it. This week's episode, or I should say today's episode, is kind of fascinating because it's all about a boy. This happened a long time ago. It's all about a boy in Indonesia who had sex with a cow. Now, I know what you're thinking. Matt, what are you doing? Why are you talking about this? Come on. No. Here's the thing. He had to marry it afterward. All right? Like, that was a decree from a judge. But then some other crazy stuff happened as well. We're going to be talking about that because when it comes to these kind of stories, right, about humans being seduced by animals, because that was kind of this kid's defense. In centuries past, you know, the ocean, like, people thought that it was full of krakens and sea serpents and sea monsters and other kinds of fantastic or amazing creatures. And they helped to bring this mysterious ocean into the more familiar realm of known, you know, and like cartography and mapping and things like that by introducing the human traits and an element to these kind of storytellings, right? Like, one creature specifically that ends up popping up quite often is like the mermaid, right? Like, the mermaid is a story we all know. We all know the story of the Little Mermaid and how weird it is with the Hans Christian Andersen version of it. But look, mermaids are mythological creatures, and they've been appearing in folklore across the globe for like thousands of years, with one of the oldest and most known myths coming out of ancient Greece, where you've got this popular legend that claimed that Alexander the Great's sister turned into a mermaid upon her death and then lived in the Aegean Sea. I mean, that's an old, ancient Greek myth, you know? And mermaids are like, they're characters in stories. We know that because we've grown up with these kind of mythological things, right? The cryptozoology stuff. But in a world that is saturated with mermaid mythology, people do sometimes believe that they are real. Like, for example, when Christopher Columbus, the mass murdering, mass raping fuckhead, set out to sea in 1492, he had a mermaid sighting of his own. Except it wasn't a mermaid. It was actually pretty much like the first written encounter or record of manatees in North America. So mermaids, the scantily clad, breasticles exposed, beautiful women singing songs to sailors. Like these, stories, they're manatees. Sea cows, essentially. Now, this is true. This is true. Even a couple years ago, there was a 2-hour documentary style program on Animal Planet that was called Mermaid Body Found. And it was actually like pitched by the network as a science fiction based documentary on some real events and scientific theory. And it was actually so convincing, this mermaid body found thing, that the National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration, NOAA, was actually overwhelmed by callers demanding to know the truth about the existence of the legendary sea creatures. I remember when that aired, I watched it with my mom, and I was like really going, man, they're really selling this thing as real. But I love this kind of stuff. So deep down, I will fully admit, like deep down, I was like, oh man, I really wish this is real. Like, that'd be cool as hell if mermaids are true. They're not true, obviously, but there is lasting damage that comes from this kind of belief. And the reason why I'm spending some time talking about mermaids is because I want to talk more about that Indonesian kid, that 18-year-old Indonesian kid who got caught graping a cow in a rice paddy one day back in Bali back in 2010. So this kid, Ngurah Alit, 18 years old, unemployed. This, I guess, to make that abundantly clear, they want you to know he was unemployed. He was an unemployed youth from the seaside village of Ye Embeng in Jembrana, and I'm probably mispronouncing that. I apologize. And he was caught by neighbors, stark naked, behind a cow, giving it the business in a rice paddy field. Like I said, middle of the day. This kid out there just banging a cow, right? He, went to court because he was arrested and he had a defense. And his defense is, well, what he claimed was that the cow wasn't a cow. What he believed was that the cow was a beautiful young woman who was wooing him and seducing him with flattering compliments. Yes, he basically tried the mermaid defense, right? No, that's not a cow, Your Honor. That was a beautiful young maiden. She was wooing me. She was telling me flattering things and forget-me-nots and blowing me kisses. So of course I had to have sex with it. Like, that was his entire argument, was that the cow seduced him. What? Really? Okay. That's what he said. Now, do you think that the judge bought it? Do you think that the judge sat there and went, you know, I believe you, kid. I think that cow is a hussy and a whore, and I'm going to believe you were seduced by that bovine right there. No, of course not. The judge isn't an idiot. At least not for this. And he said no. He didn't buy it, and he actually ordered this 18-year-old unemployed kid to marry the cow in order to cleanse the city, cleanse the village of the sin of bestiality. I'm not kidding you. Now, we've got like the Bible here in the Western United States, or the Western culture, right? And according to Leviticus, was it chapter 20, verse 15? It actually has a passage about this. And it says, if a man has sexual relations with the animal, he is to be put to death, and you must kill the animal. Now, what did the animal do here that's wrong? And that's my question. Of course, the defilement of the animal is kind of what is the sin in this particular case. Now, this Indonesian area, Bali, this island of Bali, they don't follow Christianity. They have their own way of doing it. Indonesia is a little bit different. What they needed to do was to conduct a purification ritual, and marriage was part of that ritual. In fact, what they wanted to do was they needed to rid the city of what they call the Bhuta Kala. Now, the Bhuta Kala are considered as like the immediate cause of all that is, injurious, and I'm quoting this, injurious to human joy and comfort, physical, mental, natural, and social. Like wars, epidemics, catastrophes, arguments, anger, confusion, greed, sadness, and other disturbances are signs of their presence. So basically, in this culture, the Bhuta Kala, they're like demons, kind of, a little demon-esque, right? Little demon gremlin. Well, they don't look like gremlins. They actually like have statues and stuff. But the thing is that if you are ever having a bad day, right? If you're ever feeling like you're going to be impure, or you're going to do something bad, or you do get caught doing something bad, you just blame it on the Bhuta Kala. But they still needed to rid the city of this sin. They needed to clear it from this blanket of bestiality. And again, they say that the Bhuta Kala, like, these guys are everywhere. But their absence is mainly felt when the gods are distant, or when human neglect or wrongdoing has alienated the divinity. That is what they do. That is what it says. So basically, again, going right back to the whole concept of human neglect. Oh, right. So human behavior, they do something bad. Let's just blame it on some demons. So yeah, this judge didn't buy the mermaid defense, didn't buy any of that, but he did order this kid to marry the cow so they could perform this purification ritual and then rid the city of defilement. Now, Alit, he kind of had to go along with this, right? But there was a lot of pressure on this kid during the wedding day. I can't find any images of it, unfortunately, but there were a lot of people there watching, because this was controversial in 2010. This is really controversial. This news did make its way around the internet. I even found an article on Business Insider talking about it. Another article on NASDAQ.com where they were chuckling about this particular situation. Anyway, it was big in Bali. So while he was there, I'm assuming in like a tuxedo, getting ready to marry this cow, the pressure hit, right? The shotgun wedding approach, it hit, and he ended up just blacking out. He passed out on the ground. His mother comes over and she's trying to shoo away all of the people trying to photograph him on the ground. And again, not one of these photographs exists that I can find. So it's like, what the hell am I supposed to believe here? But what we don't know is if he actually said "I do" before he passed out. Ultimately, it doesn't really matter, because as soon as the ceremony was over, they drowned the cow. Yeah. They sacrificed the cow by drowning it in the ocean. They led the cow out to the ocean and drowned it as this kid was just passed out on the ground, and they took care of it for him. They completed the ceremony. But what they did for Alit here, for this 18-year-old, is they symbolically drowned him. What that means is they baptized him, right? Because that's kind of in religion, at least in like Western religion and Christianity, baptisms are like a get out of jail free card. You know, you could be on your deathbed and be like, bring me the chapel. I want to get baptized. And then he comes in and does the thing and it wipes your slate clean before you die. It's a quick get out of jail free card. Repentance, all that stuff. Anyway, so they took his clothes, they threw his clothes in the ocean, and they symbolically drowned him. And then the chief of the village actually declared, he came out and he declared that this land be cleansed from the defilement of the incident. What I don't know is, like, did they eat the cow afterward? I know that's kind of a crazy thing to ask, but I'm curious. Did they eat the cow afterward? Did they just end up like leaving it to like float out? Did they at least give it a burial, for crying out loud? This cow did nothing wrong, folks. That's the whole point I'm trying to get to here. The cow is the victim. The rapist got a slap on the wrist, and he's known as having to marry a cow. And that's it. And this happened 11 years ago, right? And I can't even really find anything more on this guy. But I did find an interesting side story here. And it goes back to the case of Jacques Ferron in France in 1750, who was caught in the act of coitus with a donkey, or as they were referred to at the time, she-asses. Not kidding you. And this is the thing. After the due process of law, he was sentenced to death for defiling the she-ass. However, the animal, who normally would have also been killed because of the defilement, was actually acquitted on the grounds that she was a victim of violence and had not participated in her master's crime of her own free will. I mean, like, they had character witnesses come out on behalf of this donkey who signed a certificate saying that they had known the she-ass for 4 years and that she had always shown herself to be virtuous and well-behaved both at home and abroad. She wasn't no hussy. The donkey wasn't no hussy. And that she had never given a scandal to anyone. And their ability to sign this and to bear witness, that's what got this donkey acquitted, was the fact that people had known the donkey for years and it was a good donkey, you know? And so they killed the guy. I believe they hung him, and then they let the donkey go. I guess in that case, it's kind of, you know, that's more just, but, that happened in France in 1750, not Bali in Indonesia in 2010. It's kind of weird that the French, multiple centuries ago, still had more common sense than, you know, trying to cleanse a village of a defilement by having a boy marry a cow and then drowning that cow in the ocean. But of course, when I cover stories here on Stranger Days, I want them to be strange. I want them to be weird. I want you to go, what in the hell? Because that's the whole point of doing this. And so I do appreciate you taking the time to listen to this. If you want, please leave a comment on YouTube. If you're listening to this over on podcasts, please leave a review, leave a comment. Find me on Twitter at mjarbo. If you want to support the podcast, patreon.com/Matt Jarbo. Great way to do that. I'll talk to you guys later. Thank you so much. Have yourself a great day, and peace out.